Hello everyone, welcome to the Comic Air Movie Show. My name's Deshaun, and today I'm here to give you a review. Now, I'm gonna give you a review of a couple Netflix things today because I just binged through a couple Netflix shows in the course of a couple days. So, the first up is my review of Daybreak. Now, Daybreak is based off of a graphic novel. Now, I've never read the graphic novel Daybreak, but obviously it must be not too bad if it got itself a live action interpretation of it. Now, Daybreak takes place today generally, and pretty much in our world, and it's an apocalypse. These bombs dropped, but the difference between Daybreak and other apocalypse shows or movies is its sense of humor, its levity, and it's a coming of age story. It's both a sense of humor, levity, coming of age story. It's kind of like, if I had to equate Daybreak to, it'd be these three things mixed together in a pot. Zombieland, Zombieland, The Breakfast Club, and Deadpool. It's that. It's Zombieland, Breakfast Club, and Deadpool mixed together in a pot. Because that is the best description of Daybreak. Zombieland, Deadpool, and Breakfast Club. And the thing is, it's one of those shows that start off a lot like Zombieland, Deadpool. I mean, it breaks the fourth wall. It is completely self-referencing. It's self-referencing. It doesn't take it, there are parts of it that don't take itself too serious. There are so many parts of it that don't take itself too seriously. It's funny. It's slapsticky. It can have some slapstick in scenes. It can be very vulgar in scenes. There's a lot of cursing and a lot of interesting language being used in many different scenes. It's like I said, it's a Deadpool, for a lot of it is Deadpool meets Zombieland. In the certain sense of, that it's an apocalypse and how crazy the apocalypse is and how funny certain people handle the apocalypse and how crazy certain people, come up with ideas of how to handle the apocalypse, and that's pretty funny. And that's where the Zombieland aspect comes in, but the Deadpool aspect comes in and just how fourth wall breaky the show is and how referencing the show is and how just the show tends to take the piss out of a lot of things. But the show never it does get now. I don't want you to think that this show is just a straight up comedy because when the show gets you, because when you start to think that it's this, they'll throw in that 16 candle kind of coming of age drama, because at its core, all of that stuff is frosting. All of that stuff is beautiful frosting and beautiful, drawing on the frosting. But at its core, the show is really a coming-of-age story about teenagers finding who they are and being comfortable in their own skin. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what the show's about. Teenagers finding who they are and becoming comfortable in their own skin. And it's kind of like one of those things where and they do flashbacks too before the bomb drops. While you're going through the regular story with the main characters. But the main characters have flashbacks to what they were doing, and all in a nutshell is all these characters are kids. At the end of the day, they're all 16 to 17 years old. Some of them, I don't think any of them were seniors. Maybe one of them was a senior, but they're all young. They're all really young. They all were just trying to figure their lives out, and then these bombs dropped. And for some reason, and I will say that's one of the more weirder things is it's a unique bomb because the bomb killed all the adults, or the bomb either killed all the adults, or they turned all the adults into these zombie-like creatures called ghoulies. But the ghoulies are even slapsticky and kind of funny because they're called ghoulies, but they're not what you think they are. They're just people. And yeah, they do what zombies do. They attack and eat. But the ghoulies walk around saying the last sentence that they had in their minds. So there are ghoulies walking around they're just walking around saying the most ridiculous offbeat thing ever. You'll see them walking around, oh well, I got a discount on that thing. The show loves to take the piss out of everything. And it really does. It really does. There's even some of the way the characters talk, and I will say this: there is a bit of social justice in the show. I don't think it's bad social justice. I think it's just acknowledgement, but some people might take it as social justice. There are many scenes where where certain characters were getting arguments with people over it's like stupid stuff. There's an argument over a girl's vagina, how a girl's vagina smells, and this girl just goes off on this guy, and it's just like, this is why it smells this way. That's fucking like they go off, and there are certain things like that in the show that might bother some people. It never really kind of bothered me, except there is this one group in the show that literally blame men for every problem on the planet, but there's like some but they're just one group of isolated crazy chicks in the show, and it's just like even the main characters are just like, I don't know what that's not totally accurate, but okay. And there's like all these different groups, but to get into the main characters, there are 3 main characters in my opinion. There are other characters that play big roles, but 3 main characters are Josh, Angelica, and Wesley. Now, Josh is the main character. He's the guy on the poster. He's the guy he's pretty much the narrator for most of it. He's the point of view that you see through most of the actual show. And Josh is actually played by the guy, if you are a Supernatural fan, especially even an old school Supernatural fan, the guy playing Josh also played a young Sam back in the day. He played Kid Sam back in the day, and now he's adult and he's all grown up, and it freaked me out for the first few minutes. I was like, he looks so familiar, and then I kept looking at him, and I'm like, yo, you played young Sam, because I'm binging Supernatural over again, because this year's the last season, and I'm sitting there watching it, I'm like, that guy looks so familiar. And like, he played young Sam. Speaking of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that actor's in this too. Damn it, I always forget. What is his name? I always say his name wrong. I'm not even gonna try. But yeah, that actor, Ferris Bueller, is in this as a teacher. So like, that's pretty funny right there alone. Also, Joe Manganiello. I always say his name wrong. He played Deathstroke. He was in Spider-Man. Joe Manganiello. God damn it, I'm never gonna try that. But yeah, he's in this as well. But I digress. Those 3 characters are the really 3 characters you're following: Josh, Angelica, and Wesley. And they all are coming at this thing from different perspectives. For instance, Angelica is the youngest of all of them. She's pretty much the youngest character you see in the show. Like, minor spoilers, she has her period in the show, so I mean, she can't be but so young, but she is the youngest character in the show. And and she has this interesting thing where she's that super smart, quirky, out of control teenager. She's that bad child. She's like the problem child if he was a genius. That's basically what Angelica is. She's problem child if he was a genius, which would be even scarier. Like a legitimate genius. Like, I mean, she could do math equations and shit and come up and create bombs out of bullshit and stuff. Like, she's just a little demon. But underneath it all, underneath all of that stuff that she does and all that things, there is more to her than meets the eye. And that's what the show really is kind of pushes. Even with Wesley. Now, Wesley is like, in the real world, he was a football player. He's this amazing he was a great football player, but he's gay. I love the handling of the gay characters in this show because they don't beat you over the head with it. They don't smash you over it. He's gay. And he was like nervous about admitting that to himself in the real world. But, out here, he's okay. And I don't want to spoil what makes him, but he was like this fanatic samurai fan. Huge fan of ninjas and samurais and things of that nature. The man owned he owned actual legit swords. So when the apocalypse happened, he became a samurai because he had all this shit. He became a samurai because he could relate to them. And at first, it kind of came off as a goof. But the longer the show goes on, the more you see, the more he becomes a samurai. Like, you believe it. By the time that show ends, you're like, yeah, he's a samurai. Like, it might be very unconventional, and he might have became a fan of this shit from watching old cheesy movies, but he's a legit samurai by the end of it. And the thing that they all have, and Josh obviously is the main character that you follow, and and he's kind of an outsider. He's an outsider to even them, because no one even knows who he is. No one even really knew who he was, except Angelica, but that's because he babysitted her, apparently. But no one really even knew who he was. At the beginning of the movie, at the beginning of the show, multiple people have no clue who Josh even is. And it's because Josh kind of lived his life on the lower radar when he got there, because apparently he moved there from Canada, and, he kind of lived his life on the lower radar. Though, Josh has done a better job at surviving on his own than anyone. Like, when you find Josh, he's got this plan mapped out. That's where it gets a little Zombieland too, where he's talking to you like kind of like Jesse Eisenberg did in the first Zombieland, and telling you what you do, and how to survive, and what you have, and how to do this, and how to do certain things. And he's like talking to the audience about that stuff. That's where it gets really Zombieland-y with him. And but like I said, he just seems like he adapted to this shit very easily and very quickly, because you'll find out throughout the course of the show. But like, the big thing about this show is that it's a really fun show. It's a really fun, energetic, unique show that is a mixture of many things, has a great ending. In my opinion, a phenomenal ending that you wouldn't see coming, that you're not going to see coming a mile away until it actually happens, and you go, oh, well, I did not see that coming. And it addresses a lot of actual social issues, and a lot of, like, not social issues like preaching to you, but like social issues in terms of like how people feel, of the pressures of dealing with certain things, the identity. It deals with a lot of that stuff. It deals with a lot of coming of age stuff. At its core, it's a coming of age story about kids finding themselves, and they say it multiple times that high school is supposed to be where kids find themselves, and then they build upon that. But what happens when you don't get to go through high school? What happens when the apocalypse happens while you're literally finding yourself? So now you have to find yourself in this insane situation, and you see cliques form, and people gravitate towards people who they conceive have already found themselves. And even the main villain, you think, oh, he's this big badass dude, which he is a big badass dude, one of the main villains. But at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where he's a kid too, and he hasn't even found himself. And that sometimes that's what it's about, man. And that's an interesting part of the story. Is that at its heart, that's what it's really about. And if you go into it knowing that, you're gonna enjoy it. Like I said, it doesn't take itself too seriously, so relax. But when it does take itself seriously, be prepared for it. Because when it does, it'll get you. It'll get you when it does take itself seriously. So I'm going to give Daybreakers an 8.5. I had a great time watching it. It still has some things to work on. Some of the CGI is a bit wonky. Some stories didn't matter whatsoever. I didn't like how certain plots went. But, overall, I had a great time with the show. I give Daybreakers an 8.5. Thank you for joining me on the Comic Game Movie Show. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.